Hey, everybody, and happy holidays. I'm Leon Thomas with Miranda Kitterlin Lynch. Hey, Miranda, how are you?
Hi, good. How are you? Happy holidays.
Happy holidays to you. We're here for a special holiday edition of Checking in a Lodging DEI chat. So, Miranda, before we jump into our show today, tell us how fun were the holidays for you? What big happened?
Oh my goodness. Fun for me as the mom or fun for the family?
Let's expand that fun. Yes, let's say the
Okay.
expansion of fun.
I
Yeah.
think probably the biggest fun in our house is my husband bringing home a new puppy. Her name is
Okay.
Bernadette.
All right. Right on. Right on. And what type of what breed do you have?
She
Is
is a
Bernadette?
rescue, so we have no idea, probably a mixture of many things, but she is full of sweetness.
Uh-huh. All right.
How
Right
about you?
on.
Anything big in your household?
Well, um, the traditions for us, which has been our sons being with us for the holidays, going to church on Christmas Eve. And spending time with relatives. We went around on Christmas Day to visit. My wife and I did visited some relatives that we kind of pay close attention to. So that was really good.
Very nice.
And of course, on the court with the kids at Racquetball Revival, we're up to
Nice.
62 kids now, and that's always a fun time.
Well,
Yeah.
what's going on with racquetball? Do you have any big events happening soon or?
They will be. Our kids will be in a tournament in February. In Severna Park, Maryland. So they'll be playing there. We're looking forward to getting them really prepped for that. For some of the older kids, we're going to push them to play in some upper divisions, and so we're trying to get them prepared for it. So
Awesome.
looking forward to it, and things are just going really good there. We have an English tutor, a math tutor, and someone that does counseling for our kids as well. So it's not just about racquetball.
I love that.
All right. So, Miranda, we've had a lot of guests on our show. We're into season number 2 of checking in a lodging DEI chat. And my first comment is who'da thunk?
Who would have thunk? How long have we been doing this?
I think I don't know. This is season 2. What do we got? 25 shows?
I
30? I don't know. You have the official count. I don't know if you have it. I don't.
I do not have the official count, but I know that the first one came out in September of 2022.
All right. So more than a year of worth of shows.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah, this is great, and who'd have thunk when we first met that this is what we'd be doing,
Right.
right? We met way, back during COVID and all, but I'm glad things have worked out the way they have. I'm enjoying our partnership and
As am I.
the DEI
Absolutely.
and other areas. So let's talk some about our show. One of the questions that we ask, we have two signature questions, right? One's kind of a toss me, hit a slam dunk home run. Have you ever had a Maryland crab cake? Right. And that started because we were talking about crab cakes, I think, before the show with someone. I said, have you ever had a Maryland crab cake? They're like, yeah, in Kansas City. I'm like, shut up. You never had a Maryland crab cake. And so we went on with that. But the question you asked that I really like is what would you tell your
Your
20-year-old
20-year-old
self?
self.
Yeah,
And it can
yeah.
only be one thing.
Only one thing. What would you tell your 20-year-old self? Now, I'm going to give you some of the responses I remember, and then you can toss some that you may recall as well. I remember some themes on that went, "It's going to be okay,"
Mhm.
and "Don't be afraid to give it a try." Those
Yes.
are two big themes I remember. What about you? What are some of the themes on the reply
Those were
answers to that?
exactly what I was thinking. And also, take risk was a big theme, especially early in your career where it's relatively safe to take a risk,
Mhm.
which are two words that you don't hear together often.
Right, right. Yeah. Yeah. And we've had some really I'll call them heavy hitters as guests on our show. Let's talk about first Anna Blue. with
Yes.
the AHNLA Foundation. A guest came on a guest on our show, and
But before you go on, I want to point out that she is the president of the American Hotel and Lodging Foundation because representation is important.
yes, it is indeed, indeed the president. Thank you for pointing that out. Thank you. Yes, so she came on and talked about some of the things that the AHNLA Foundation is doing. And one of the things that I think is really cool as it relates to diversity is the partnership that they have with Howard University, right?
Hmm.
Yeah, I think that's really cool what they're doing. Howard University is a HBCU, historically black college and university. So I thought that was really cool what they're doing.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. And we also had let's see, who else? I got a full list here. I don't know where we're gonna go next. Let's
Ooh,
talk about, yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to jump in and shout out David President Jr. with Remington Hotels and give a plug for his book, The Power of a Suit. As soon as he was on our show and shared that information with us, I ordered it. I've read it. It's incredible. And I encourage everybody to pick up a copy.
Yeah, and again, that's Power of the Suit with David President. We have you on a one shot. Bring that closer to the camera that everybody can check it out there. Make sure you buy David President's book. Thank you, Miranda. Thanks for pointing that out. Yeah. And David, I believe shortly after appearing on this show, he got promoted.
Nice.
Now, I'm not saying coming on the show got him promoted, okay? But
I'm not saying it's not.
I'm not that could be the reason, right? We're not saying it's not. But it just so happens he came on checking in a lodging DEI chat, and suddenly he's like a regional director, sales or something
Mhm.
with Remington.
Regional
So
Director of Sales and Marketing.
yes. And so folks, just saying, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, there's a couple ways you can do it. You can contact me, send me an email, Leon at theleonthomasgroup.com, or one of my favorite lines of the show, Miranda, how do folks get in touch with you?
I suggest you just Google me because I'm the only Miranda Kitterlin Lynch that you're going to find. If you find another one, I'll send you $100.
Love it, love it. So you just Google Miranda Kitten Lynch, and you could be a guest on Checking in a Lodging DEI chat as well. So we had Tracy Prigmore,
Yes, the
right?
founder of She Has a Deal.
Yes, and we had a great conversation with her about how she got started in that, but also one of the questions you asked her was around some of the barriers that she's faced in business. And we have a clip that we're going to go ahead and share now. You can hear the question and then hear how she responds to it, and then we'll talk about it on the other end. Here we go.
Mhm,
But let me ask you first, you mentioned barriers and challenges. What
mhm.
barriers and challenges have you seen in your career in this area
Yeah. So there's,
that are
I mean,
specific to women?
right. And so there's a fundamental one that there's a fundamental barrier that we tend to experience that people you can't like visibly see, which is that the access to capital. So ownership development is very capital intensive, and those who are owning and developing will have access to money in order to be able to get into the projects. And if you look historically with respect to the laws and the systemic barriers that were placed in our country, where number one, like women weren't able to own their own business or get a loan without having their husband or male co-sign for the loan. So that's a barrier that held women back from creating businesses, and women were working in the home. And so the creation of wealth on the side of women was constrained, and it was actually legally constrained. And so having the net worth and the liquidity that is needed to get into these types of fields it is in itself a barrier. And so when you go to get a loan, or if you even to have the confidence to even put a deal under contract, your bank account needs to look pretty healthy. And so if we collectively, don't have that level of net worth that would qualify us for a loan or give us that confidence, that we could actually acquire a property, then right there, there's an immediate barrier. And so the question always comes up is like, well, how am I going to do this project if I don't have the availability of my own capital, or I don't have a network that has capital to be able to invest in my project?
And that's I'm glad that was a great part of the conversation we had with Tracy. And one of the things that she talked about for women was the access to capital, right?
Mhm.
But that happens with so many other groups,
Of
right?
course.
In particularly Black owners, African American owners, those that want to get into the hotel business. um, it's not as simple as saying, here's me and here's what I have. There's so many barriers, and so it was great to hear her mention that from a Black lady mention that from a female perspective, but also it's something that happens in many businesses when it comes to financing.
Yeah, definitely.
And which leads us to we one of our guests we had on was Paul Cash. Paul Cash with Wyndham Hotels, and we talked with him about Wyndham's Bold program that's designed to bring in more African American owners, and as it relates to access to capital.
Of systemic racism in this country and the challenges that that poses for Black entrepreneurs. It's no surprise, unfortunately, that the numbers are so small. So that was for us sort of an aha moment where we said, okay, that's really the spark in the Wyndham forest, and it lit a fire under all of us. And we said, this is unacceptable. We need to change that. We need to design or build an intentional program for the Black community. And that begins with figuring out what are those barriers. We didn't want to presume that we knew the answers, that we knew exactly what those challenges were. And so we knew that we needed to just sort of stop and do a lot of listening.
Miranda, now,
And so
as it relates to Wyndham and their Bold program, we know that Choice has some programs as well. And I'll just mention those two companies because in the last 4 months or so, we've been hearing about Choice wants to acquire, Choice wants to take over, Choice wants to merge with whatever the term is. That's been going on. And I wonder what's going to happen. I'd like to get your thoughts on it. What do you think is going to happen if this merger or acquisition goes through? Will both companies still have some type of minority initiative, or will one go away, or will they not have them at all? What are you thinking?
As we enter a new year, I am going to enter it with optimism. So 2024 me is going to say, yes, it's still going to happen. There's still going to be emphasis and value placed upon both. All right. Either that or some combination will be made to make it even stronger. 2023 me may have been a little more pessimistic, just reflecting on all of the statements and uh, movements and emphasis that we've heard companies speak about and announce, right, since the murder of George Floyd. So, and we didn't necessarily see as many companies follow through with what they said that was important to them at that time. So, 2024 me is going to say, yes, it's still happening. It's still going to be great, maybe even better.
hmm I'm going to say, in using your imagery, the 2024 me, I'm going to be optimistic about it. The 2019, 2018, 2017 me would say, yeah, it's gone. It's gone.
Mhm.
They don't care. Right. And again, based on what I experienced, what others have experienced, and then based on what everyone said in 2020, I'm hopeful that it stays. That the program, maybe they combine the two programs and make something big out of it. I really hope that continues. But one of the things that I'm seeing, at least on social media and in folks that I talk with, is that companies are de-emphasizing the concept of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Folks that have those positions, not only in hotel companies but in others, they're eliminating those positions, and it's some of that controversial and hard talk is starting to appear again, and I'm so disappointed to see that and to hear that those things happen.
Yeah.
Um, so I hope,
Espe-
maybe we could get some guests on the show here that tells us some things that their companies are doing, that are still doing in the DEI area.
Yeah, I
Um,
would welcome all the good news.
yeah, yeah. Tell us about some of the guests that you'd like to highlight here today.
Well, I mentioned our book, The Power of a Suit, and I would be remiss if I did not also mention that we also had Tawana Tawana Rochelle Woods, who is the president and founder of Icebreakers Unlimited. And she also published a book, How to Close a Sale in 24 Hours or Less. And I don't have it with me. It's in my other office space, but it is also incredible. So I encourage everybody to pick up a copy of that, How to Close a Sale in 24 Hours or Less.
All right. And who's the author of that
Oh,
again, please?
Tawana Rochelle Woods
All right. Tawana
of
Rochelle Wood,
Icebreakers Unlimited.
Icebreakers Unlimited. And she sent me a nice care package after the show because I talked about you getting got some swag from her.
I
Remember, you
did.
got swag from her, right? And I'm like, I don't have any swag. So she emails me and wants my physical mailing address, and she sent me a bunch of stuff. And as I look around the studio right now, Twana, I'm not. How do you say? Why does this popular phrase come from too? I ain't gonna lie, right? I ain't gonna lie. Why? Why does that get thrown into everything now? It's like starting a sentence with "so." So I ain't gonna lie. It's in the other room. It's not in the studio. It's not in my home studio. It's in the family room, and I don't want to like stand up and go get it right now. So Twana, it's here.
Well, wait,
It's
did you
here.
get the nice little travel blanket?
Yes, I did.
Okay.
I got
I
the
had it in my
blanket.
possession for about 20 minutes before my children took it from me. So,
I got the blanket. I got the blanket. I have a thermosteel. I have
Mhm.
a coaster, and I have I can't remember what all else, but I know the coaster and blanket are in the family room. So
Nice.
I know we're good there. So who else would you like to highlight, Miranda, as we go through our show history?
Absolutely. Rachel Humphrey. She is the founder of the Women in Hospitality Leadership Alliance, which is an amazing group doing some great things. She's also the board director, principal, and interview host for DEI Advisors, also a group that's doing incredible things. And I encourage everybody to check out their videos and their collection of resources because it's just really, really, really valuable. Again, that's DEI Advisors. And Rachel Humphrey.
Okay, great. Now, here's one of our guests that I want to talk about because this guest sparked more conversation post show via phone call, LinkedIn messages, private text messages than any of the other guests. Right now, you would think with some of the other guests, some of the notables, some of the big names, some of the power folks that we've had on this show, that we would hear from others, viewers that want to talk about what they had to say. We had Horace Brooks on the show,
Yes.
right? Horace is a general manager, right? At
Mhm.
we're saying area manager now, but he is a hotel manager. And one of the things that he said, and we're going to roll the clip here shortly. In fact, why don't we run the clip, and then we'll talk about what he said, and then let's talk about some of the feedback that was offered based on what Horace presented, what he talked about during his appearance on checking in
And he's
a
with Courtyard by Marriott.
Courtyard by Marriott. All right, great. Thank you. Thank you. All right, we're going to go ahead and play that clip from Horace now.
One of the things that you posted that you also shared with my students is your career advice to them was stay no longer than 2 years in one position, unless it's general manager, I think he said. Why
Yes.
do you think it's important to stay? Well, I'll just let you tell our guest. Why is it important to stay no more than 2 years in a position?
My hope is that in hospitality, everyone wants to continue to go and excel. And like I've said, and I said that Saturday, if someone wants to stay in one position for the entire career and they're happy, that's perfectly fine. But if you're your goal is to learn and grow and to get more increased position of responsibility, then 2 years in any position should be enough. If you go in with the mindset that I'm going to do what I need to do and move on because I want to keep learning and growing and excelling. So, like I said, the first 6 months, learn everything you can about the position, everything inside and out. And the second 6 months, become the master at it. The third 6 months is very important. The third 6 months is where you demonstrate how much knowledge you have in that area, how much of a master you are. But what's important is that you teach others as well. Make sure you teach others as well about that same position. And then in the fourth 6 months, to put it bluntly, get out.
Get
So
out.
that's what Horace said, right? So again, to recap, he said the first 3 months, sir, 6 months, learn everything you can about the job, right? The second 6 months was become a master at it. The third one was to demonstrate your knowledge and teach others. And the fourth 6 months was get out, right? So, so he's my phone blew up, right? But the people are saying, "He- I wouldn't hire anyone who hasn't been on a job for more longer than 2 years. That's not showing any loyalty, right? I don't want someone who's always looking for the next move. I want someone that's going to be dedicated to the position that they have." And it went on and on.
Well, to be fair, he didn't say leave the company. He said you should not be in that same position.
Good point. Good point. He said you shouldn't be in the same position. Yeah. And so one of the individuals that contacted me pointed out something, and I didn't say it. I didn't say it. He said, but maybe, and this is him talking, maybe I have a different perspective because I'm a white guy living in central, I'm not going to mention the state, but I'm a white guy living in central whatever. I have a different perspective on this than an African American would.
That
And I'm
is a
like,
really good
yeah,
poignant statement.
absolutely. I said,
And
yeah, yeah.
that's really beautiful self-awareness.
Hmm. Hmm.
Wow.
Right. And the other thing, another conversation that I had in regards to that, um, was the idea of wanting to continue to move, right? That you want to move up, you want to move on to do other things. And I think a lot of people missed his beginning statement, which was if you're happy in what you're doing and you don't want to move on, that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's what he said, right?
Mm-hmm.
But if you want to go on, here's what you should be doing. Now, what I pointed out to one of my white friends was that when a white person, and I've heard these conversations, and I'm not generalizing, I'm just talking about through my experiences. When a white male says, I want to move up and do more, they're seen as a go getter.
Mm.
Black person, or maybe even in some situations, women say, I want to move up and do more, they're not loyal. What
Mm-hmm.
would you what's your take on those types of things that we heard?
I think that we would be incredibly silly if we did not accept the fact that people view other people in different lenses, right? So the way that people look at you is going to be the way that people different than the way people look at me, different from the way that people look at my husband, who is a white male. Um, I I'm going to say something that may spark some more phone calls, emails, messages. I think that you could equate it to the way that different types of people are treated by law enforcement, for example. And my father is a former law enforcement member. So I'm not hating on law enforcement by any means. But statistics speak for themselves, and we know that certain groups of people are treated differently by law enforcement in the United States than others, right? So it would be incredibly irresponsible to think that this different treatment does not happen in other environments and scenarios.
Absolutely. I'm with you. I'm with you. Yes. Yes. Well said. I am with you.
I also
And
think that when certain groups of people in the workplace are um, loud, right, or firm, they're seen as strong, whereas other groups of people may be seen as the B word
hmm
or aggressive,
yeah.
right?
Yep. Yep. Right on. Yes. Absolutely.
I'm trying to
Absolutely.
say things as safely as possible.
Yes. 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 And
And
I think,
respectfully, because I don't
yeah.
hate white men. I'm married to one. I may not like him very much when I have to go clean up after the puppy in a minute, but we love our white male allies. We can't
Yeah.
get very far without you. So,
Yeah. Yeah. Right on. And we black men, black ladies, we like our white allies too, right? Like you. Right, that help spread the word and share the message, and it's part of what we want to do during the show,
yes.
right, is to help spread the message.
And if anybody
um
wants to contribute to the message, reach out. We would love to
yeah,
have you on. And if anybody disagrees with the message, reach out. We won't fight with you.
those are the folks I really would like to have here. Yeah, big
Yes.
time. If you don't agree, and I know there are some of you that don't agree because based on some of the posts that I make on LinkedIn and others of other friends make, and comments are made on them, there are people who don't agree with diversity, period. And I think one of the things is everyone's looking at race, and there's so much more to diversity than race, and there's so much more than gender, right?
Yes.
So, but there are folks that disagree with some of the posts that are making. And I'll just share one. One of the hotel companies won an award, and they posted a picture of the leaders in that department, right? They posted a picture of it. And since I've already commented on it, I can share it here. It was Choice Hotels and Choice University. They won an award. And they had a picture of 7 or 8 white folks. And I said, were the black leaders in Choice you off that day? That's what I said. Well, the responses I got, Miranda, were like, they hire the best. I'm like, do you work for them? How do you know they hire the best, right?
Mm.
One person said, you sound like you're on CNN. Like, what? What does that even mean?
I don't,
What
I
what does
don't, what?
what? What? So we want to have folks on who disagree, and let's have a really good discussion about it, and see where we are. So Miranda, any other guests that you'd like to talk about, that
I've got it.
really strike a chord with
Every
you?
single guest has been so amazing.
Yeah,
Just I walk away so inspired after we have a guest on. I wish I could shout them all out, but I know that we don't have that kind of time.
yeah.
I do want to shout out one last person. Again, very difficult to pick who my last person is because they're all so great. But Arlene Lemus with PAVE Prevention. That's a group that's doing really big things to combat violence in the workplace, and violence can span from a microaggression to full-on assault. So when we say violence in the workplace, that's a very, very big set of actions, right?
hmm
So again, Arlene Lemus with PAVE Prevention, check them out. They're doing really big things.
Yeah, yeah. Right on. Thank you for mentioning those folks. There's one person that I want to talk about. I want to go into the academic area. Michelle Russin. It's talked
Mm,
about some of the research she's done. So often when folks talk about diversity, equity, inclusion, we're expressing feelings based on experiences.
mhm,
But when that data, right, comes from the academic world and gets presented to those that are in positions of authority, they sometimes listen more.
Yeah.
right? And so we've had some other some folks in academia on that talked about it. We've had Michelle Russin was on. Who else?
We've
There's
had my dear friend, Dr. James Williams, Dr.
yep,
Andrew Mario, Dr. Lisa Kane,
yeah.
Dr. Stephanie Benjamin is doing
Hmm.
huge, valuable work in this area. We have had, gosh, so many people. I
Yeah,
can't remember them all off the top of
yeah.
my head.
Brian Barker, Michelle Russin, Diane Newman, Abigail Foster, Nick Matone, Arlene Lemus, Chris Adams, Dr. James Williams, Emily Goldfisher, Rachel Humphrey, Calvin Stovall, Paul Cash, Stephanie Benjamin, David President Jr., Robin Moncrief, Len Elliott, Twana Rachel Woods, Kathy Martin, Michael Caliglieri, Dr. Lisa Kane, Laney Kane Hanan, John Delosier has been on the show, Jay Litt, Padero Miller and Jocelyn Gomez, Dr. Andrew Mario, Orrin Hertz, Horace Brooks, Anna Blue, and
Tracy
Tracy
Prigmore,
Prigmore, Karen
Ramon.
Ramon, um, Carolyn D. Richmond, right? Stephanie Benjamin, Dr. Burkita Bradford,
Mm-hmm.
right?
And
Catheldra Alexandra and Richard Farrar,
well done. And
right?
I'm going to pretend like you had that off the top of your head versus reading it from somewhere.
Yes, thank you for pretending. Thank you for pretending. Yes, so looking forward to having some more great guests on our show for some more conversations. And again, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, contact me, contact Miranda. Leon at the LeonThomasGroup.com. You can contact Miranda. Just Google her name, Miranda Kittleman Lynch. She's the only one that's going to show up. She's already offered $1,000 to anyone. Did you say $1,000 or two, Corinne?
Originally, it was 1,000, but we just had the holidays in our house, so I had to drop that to 100.
Drop it
So
to
inflation,
100.
inflation is hitting us all.
All right. Right on. Right on. Thank you, Miranda. And I want to give a shout out to the producers with the Leon Thomas Group that have helped make this show possible to make it happen. So our interns, I'd like to thank them too. Um, Jasmine Pollock, Jeremiah Nixon, Ramisha Gordon, Laura Wiley, and our full staff. We'd also like to thank Orrin Stewart, Kelly Johnson, and Dr. Jay Rasenko. We'd like to thank them for making this all happen.
Yes, absolutely.
All right. So, everybody, we'll be back in early January with more episodes of Checking In, a Lodging DEI chat. Miranda, thanks again for being a part of the show. Thanks for doing this with us. We
Thank
really, really
you.
appreciate it.
Who knew that one LinkedIn message, what, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
maybe more,
Yeah.
would lead to 2 articles and what, 20 something episodes of the show?
20 something episodes of a show, 2 articles, and who knows what all else is coming. Yeah, because
Yes.
this show will be a part of the Leon Thomas Group 2N, Leon Thomas Group News Network, and coming out in February. Stay tuned for more information on that. Thanks again, folks, for watching, checking in, a Lodging DEI chat. Take care.